All right, thanks for joining us here on Next Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith, and we're giving you a deep dive update on what's happening with Hurricane Beryl. It is still a very strong storm. Winds of 155 miles an hour, pressure 943 millibars. That's up 5 millibars from its peak intensity, which was around daybreak today as a Category 5. Let me cut this over here and you can see me better. There, is that it now? Okay, so tracking Hurricane Beryl, and it is a Category 4, high-end Category 4 hurricane. It was briefly a Category 5 storm this morning and for a little bit late last night. The peak intensity 938 millibars. It's working its way through the Caribbean Sea, and right now it's over open water, but some of the outer bands are affecting places like Haiti and the Dominican Republic right now, as well as Puerto Rico. This thing went right over the Grenadines, a very small island chain between Grenada and St. Vincent, and now it's over open water, and it looks like it could make a direct hit on Jamaica. So we're really concerned about the citizens of Jamaica. Let's zoom in on this thing here so you can look at the anatomy of the storm, and it has changed some. If we look at the satellite picture, it begins to get a little bit more of a ragged appearance. The northwest flank of the storm, the eye wall is not eroded yet, but there is a little bit of shear coming out of the west that's beginning to have some impact on the system. It's starting to run into an upper tropospheric trough, a tut, that is located over the northwest Caribbean Sea, and that's going to limit strengthening. In fact, may induce some gradual weakening of this very powerful hurricane, and I do expect it to be a major hurricane still when it begins to interact with Jamaica, and it could be a direct hit with Jamaica, especially the southern coast of Jamaica. So let's take another look at this as we zoom in. I want to show you what's happening with the forecast models first, and you can see how close the modeling brings this towards Jamaica, and the position continues to shift a little north of the model. So looks like this could be a direct hit for the coastline of Jamaica. Then it continues on off towards the west, and it heads towards the Yucatan, and it could be a direct hit on Cancun and Cozumel, maybe a little north of the Belize border, but the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico could get a direct hit from this. And then we bring it out into the Gulf of Mexico, and the steering currents are going to collapse once it gets into the far western Gulf. So it'll be interesting to see what it does. It may be meandering here as some form of a tropical storm after interacting with Jamaica and the Yucatan, and then it will work its way on up into the potential of it going up into Mexico. So as we look at it here, there it is, kind of got it up full screen there. You can see those models. I want to bring up the official National Hurricane Center track, and that's the rest of those models running out. There's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, it shows anywhere from North Mexico to Houston. That is a big stretch of coastline. It is a 155 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane. We've never had a storm this strong this early in the season. It is highly unusual to get any kind of development in the open waters of the Atlantic. Of course, this is in the Caribbean now, but it originated in the Atlantic. It's a Cape Verde style system. Not a good signaling for the rest of the tropical season. This is bad to see this happening so soon. And we've got a Category 4 storm just south of the Dominican Republic. It is moving west-northwest at 22. Here is the official track from the National Hurricane Center. And so what we're seeing here is it's going to be an extremely close call for Jamaica. It looks like it could be very close to, in fact, I may be able to zoom in just a little bit here so you can actually see Jamaica. That's Jamaica right there. And you can see how the center line of the cone is on the south coast of Jamaica. So this could be a direct hit for Jamaica. There it is up full so you can see it there. And that's going to be sometime during the day on Wednesday. Between Wednesday morning and Wednesday night, it'll be skirting the Jamaican coast. It's also going to come very close to Grand Cayman Island. Look at the Cayman Islands there. This is going to be a real close call here. There it is right there. So very close to the Cayman Islands. And then it will come into the Yucatan, and it could be a weaker system by the time it makes its way into the Yucatan. The track here brings it across the Yucatan, which is actually a pretty flat area. There's not a lot of topography there, so a lot of times when it goes over places like Haiti, the Dominican Republic, the Greater Antilles, these storms get ripped apart by land interaction. But the Yucatan is like a flat peninsula basically, and so it may skip right over the Yucatan and still be a tropical storm as it heads towards Mexico and towards Texas. All right, so what's steering this and why is it not coming our way? Well, if we look at the steering flow pattern here, I'll bring it up full. there is a big ridge which is located over our area. That's going to be this kind of pink circle thing, and that's why it's so incredibly hot here. And that heat ridge is what's forcing this thing to the west. It can't go into that ridge, but there is a weakness in the ridge. It's over Texas, and that blocking high pressure ridge that's over our area will begin to slip out to the east, and as it works its way out into the Atlantic, that'll allow Beryl to turn more northward towards Texas. At this point, we don't really see it coming our way, but it does look like it may be a likely scenario for Texas there as it works its way into South Texas in the modeling. So that's definitely something that we'll be watching for. So how rare is this? Well, it formed in June. And in June, the areas where we normally see tropical storm formation are the Northwest Caribbean Sea, the Gulf, and right out off the East Coast in the Atlantic. Well, this formed not even on this map. So that's how unusual it is. Now in July, late July, we can start seeing storms forming up right near the Windward Islands in the far western Atlantic. But this thing formed really in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So this is just how highly unusual this situation is. And I want to talk a little bit about La Nina. So last year we had this record-breaking warm water. The globe is warmer, the water's warmer. It's a scientific fact. And last year we had an El Nino pattern, so we had a hostile upper environment. But this year it is a La Nina, which means that there will be low wind shear in the Gulf and the Caribbean Sea and also into the Atlantic. Now, wind shear just rips the top off of a hurricane. It keeps it from getting organized and keeps a lot of storms from forming. But when there's light wind shear, that can be very problematic and can cause big hurricanes to form. And this year we have the recipe for a very active season with there being low wind shear and also extremely warm water temperatures in the Gulf, the Caribbean Sea, and the Atlantic. Water temperatures are about 1.5 degrees Celsius above normal, and that in Fahrenheit is well over 2 degrees above normal. So looking at it here, you know, where the storm is right now, water temperatures are around 85 degrees. Anything 82 degrees or warmer is enough to promote or encourage tropical storm strengthening. So if you have a favorable upper environment and you have water temperatures in the mid-80s, that's basically rocket fuel for a storm. And there's nothing inhibiting this storm from a water temperature perspective. It's going to be in the mid-80s all the way across. The only issues would be land interaction. So those would be some things to watch out for there. Our tropical weather outlook, is there anything else out there to be concerned with? Well, we have a very low chance that the wave behind Beryl will develop. We were thinking that was a pretty likely scenario looking at it earlier in the week. But the water temperatures have actually been reduced in the wake of Beryl. A lot of times a hurricane will go through and it'll kind of stir the water up. And so odds of development only about 20%. The long-range models show that whatever forms here will kind of take a similar track towards Jamaica, but we'll just have to watch that next wave and see if it takes more of an easterly turn or ends up in the Gulf of Mexico. But the odds of development are only 20%, so we're doing a little bit better there. All right, so let's talk about this category stuff. The Saffir-Simpson scale, a very limited scale on rating storm intensity, completely focused on maximum sustained winds. It doesn't take into account the overall size of the storm or surge potential. But if you just look at it from a wind perspective, this was a Category 5 with winds over 160. Now it is a Category 4, a very high-end 4 with winds of 155 miles an hour. So very, very significant system. All right, so that gives you a little bit better idea of what we're seeing with Beryl. We are locally still in a heat advisory. I just checked the heat index and it's a roasty 113 in Mobile right now. Drink a lot of water if you're going to be out and about and working outside. Take some breaks, find a fan, cool off, pace yourself and stay hydrated because we've got a lot of hot weather in there here locally, but it's this same ridge that's forcing Beryl on a track that's a little bit more towards the west of us. So where it's actually doing us some favors in the short term. It's just too hot to get a hurricane right now. So that's the latest on what we're seeing with this tropical system. I'll have a complete update on Fox 10 News at 3, 4, 5, 9, and 10 p.m. tonight. And we'll be giving you the latest information on Hurricane Beryl.